Hey guys, it's me, Amygdala Vids, and whoa, sorry, I was just taken aback by how nice you look today. Keep it up. Now we're humans, and as humans we make mistakes that sometimes affect others. I don't know of a single person on this earth who hasn't intentionally or unintentionally hurt someone else in some way. No one in this world is perfect, except for maybe Mr. Rogers. Now hopefully, when you have committed a wrong, you apologize and try to make amends for your transgressions. And we do this not to only make the person we wronged better, but there is a personal motivation here at play. And no, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear that you aren't concerned with this next thing I'm going to talk about. Don't try and convince me that the sole reason you apologize and try to make up is just for the benefit of the other person. Again, we're humans, and we got this thing that we carry around called the self. We seek forgiveness for our transgressions because we want to be able to sleep at night. Forgiveness doesn't erase this blemish upon ourselves, it doesn't undo the offense, but it does place a band-aid on it and allows it to heal. But forgiveness is complicated. We seek the forgiveness of the person we have offended, obviously, but even if we obtain that, sometimes we can't forgive ourselves. Or maybe it's the other way around, where you forgive yourself but the other person doesn't forgive you. Either way, this feeling of being truly forgiven seems difficult to obtain, because you need to seek it externally and internally. But what if there was a much more powerful forgiveness? A forgiveness so grand that your soul can finally obtain peace after stealing a French fry from your friend. Dostoevsky is my favorite author as of now, with The Brothers Karamazov being my favorite book. But in this video we're going to talk about another popular book of his, Crime and Punishment, and more specifically a part of the book that I don't see a lot of people talking about, but might address our concerns about forgiveness. Now I want to make something clear first. I'm an agnostic and only read the Bible all the way through once. I am by no means an expert in Christianity. Furthermore, the passage we'll be looking at involves a character's interpretation of God, and I in turn will be interpreting him, so misconceptions about the nature of God might arise. I'd invite anyone well versed in the Bible and Christianity to offer their takes on this interpretation. But it's an interesting interpretation nonetheless, and one that speaks to the heart of forgiveness, which is why I wanted to make a video on it. So we got this character named Marmeladov, and this guy's a bit of a mess. He's got a family he needs to take care of by working, but instead, he drinks away all the money at the tavern. It's so bad, in fact, that his daughter has to turn to prostitution in order to help support the family. And even then, he took all her money she earned in order to drink. Now, we've all made mistakes in life, but I hope it hasn't gotten this bad for you. Now, he obviously feels bad about it. I mean, it's an addiction. He's an alcoholic. In fact, he's very torn up about it, even enjoying when his wife eventually finds out and pulls him by his hair. He enjoys this because he feels he deserves it, not because he's a masochist. At least, I don't think so. But it seems as though he's alone in this depressive shame. I mean, our main character Raskolnikov does walk him home and all, but Marmeladov ultimately feels very isolated in this shame. And this can sometimes happen when you've wronged someone and you haven't been forgiven or can't forgive yourself. It is kinda isolating. But Marmeladov does find one source of forgiveness and pity, and that is with God. He will pity us who has pity on all men, who has understood all men and all things. He is the one. He too is the judge, and he will say, "Come to me, I have already forgiven thee once, I have forgiven thee once. Thy sins which are many are forgiven, thee for thou hast loved much." And he will judge and will forgive all, the good, the evil, the wise, and the meek. And when he has done with all of them, then he will summon us. You too come forth. God becomes the ultimate forgiver, someone you could always turn to in order to seek love and forgiveness, a source of peace, redemption, and absolution. Now, what interests me about this interpretation of God can be divided up into pros and cons. What are the pros and cons of having this transcendent, ultimate being forgive you always and forever? Let's start with the pros. Obviously, having a source of ultimate absolution is going to help you if you're in that isolating state of guilt. Imagine being in a very dark place where you made a serious error. You can't forgive yourself, the person or people you've wronged won't forgive you, your friends won't forgive you, and neither will your family. You're alone, disdained by all, with no hope of redemption at all. Who then can you turn to besides God? And I know that's a very dark and extreme example. I mean, hopefully your family's there besides you no matter what. But I hope this hypothetical illustrates the emotional power of a God always being there with you, always willing to forgive. This also goes along very nicely with a human being's ability to change. After all, if you've made a mistake a couple years ago, you hopefully changed a lot during that time until now. Forgiveness is that affirmation that yes, you've changed. You're no longer that person who unleashed 10 Komodo dragons in my apartment while I was sleeping. You've changed, you're a different person, and with forgiveness you can move on with your new life in a different direction. Perhaps forgiveness can also be a motivating factor to make those amends. Being unforgiven and stuck in that isolating state of guilt can be pretty depressing and cause you to not want to do anything. It's like you're too depressed to even try to make those amends. Perhaps forgiveness from God can help kickstart your motivation to try to correct those wrongs. Now we gotta look at some of the cons of this interpretation of God. Just like forgiveness from God may motivate you to try and right your wrongs, it's possible it could also make you complacent in your wrongs. Like, hey, I don't need to make up for the fact that I put SpongeBob stickers all over your new car. God already forgives me. It's strange how God's forgiveness can either motivate or not motivate someone to make amends. Another con is there are some very awful people out there who probably shouldn't be given forgiveness. Just think back through history at all these horrible people who... Well, there goes my chance to revisit China. But the point is, punishment serves purposes, and forgiveness might interfere with those purposes. In my criminal law class last semester, we talked about 5 purposes of punishment: deterrence, rehabilitation, incapacitation, restitution, and retribution. Forgiveness might get in the way of achieving those purposes. So ultimately it comes down to this. If you think having God as the ultimate absolver is a good thing, you may have to answer questions regarding truly evil people and the possibility of forgiveness leading to complacency. And if you think having God as the ultimate absolver is a bad thing, you may have to answer questions as to what can a person turn to in that isolating state, as well as questions regarding motivations to make amends. And that's the hallmark of Amygdala Vids, walking away with more questions than answers. But hopefully these questions are helpful and applicable to your life. Thanks for watching, and thank you guys so much for making my Emerson video blow up. That was crazy. Be sure to subscribe, like, hit the bell, and I wish you all a very beautiful rest of your day.